Braxcast time once again. This is the 55th episode of the Braxcast, and this is going to be a pretty packed episode today. Not in terms of any big new announcements, because the Isom free collection is still ongoing. That just hit $400,000, around 6,200 books sold, and since that is a 75-day collection, I want to give that some time to breathe within the release schedule, since of course with it being the conclusion of the ill-advised arc, it is quite a big event for the Rippaverse, so giving it plenty of time to breathe, it's going to be fantastic. But if you are a fan of the Rippaverse and you want some current news, and good news is that the Great War of Separation and the Yaira statue are fulfilling next week. That is beginning the 10th of March, so you should be getting those soon. So be on the lookout for those. You should have gotten the email earlier in the last week asking you to make sure your address is confirmed for both of those orders. And of course, I will be reviewing the Great War of Separation when I get it, so be on the lookout for that sometime next week. But that is all for the current news. But like I said last week, I did get the Rippaverse Trinity, and I want to break that down along with the first set of Dokumaan cards that came with the Blood Ruth collection. But we're going to start with the Rippaverse Trinity, and boy oh boy, this is a big boy. If I can zoom out a little bit, this is an absolutely massive omnibus. So we've got the soft cover here. Believe this is Will Conrad's art for the cover, and then you've got a Canaan White cover here. So let me show off the hardcover for just a little bit. Absolutely beautiful hardcover. This was, of course, in a limited edition with the Rippaverse Trinity collection. Feels absolutely fantastic. Gotta love that spine there. Gotta love the back cover. So this is just basically collecting Isom 1, Alpha Core 1, and Yaira number 1. The first 3 ongoing series, and really the foundation for the Rippaverse, considering that all these characters appear in Isom number 1, and they're what is what made Isom 1 as intriguing as it was for the fans when that book first released in 2022. But this is definitely bigger than your average comic book, so we're going to compare this to the size of Isom number 1. So of course the C cover, and just look at that, just how much more massive it is. And on the basis of that, this makes it a really nice book to flip through. So you see, you've got the Rippaverse Ethic. This is in every book. You've got the free shot of Yaira, Brian Solari, and Isom. Absolutely gotta love that. Very fitting for the Rippaverse Trinity, and then it just goes right into the first the book. So of course, this is a remastered version of Isom, featuring the color work of Sebastian Chang, whereas the first book was colored by Gabe El Taib. And if you can see, there's some differences, like the car is a little bit different. You've got the car that's a little bit different. The hat's colored a little bit differently. Some people say it's a bit of an orange tint with Sebastian Chang's color work, and I think that's something that really appears to be more of something when you're looking at it online, because looking at it printed out looks absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love this remastered version of Isom. I have flipped through it just a tiny bit, but I definitely do love it. I think one of the big things that they did is that Invisible Studios relettered this book, and of course Eric Weathers lettered the first issue of Isom number 1 back when it was released. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that is the lettering there. And this lettering here has Isom's monologue with his Isom logo there. So it's definitely more fitting of the theme. That was something that started in the second issue of Isom. You have that little monologue that he has on his way to Blood Ruth's castle, and it features that. Whereas Eric Weathers did a much more plain style of lettering for that first issue when it first released. But this is an absolutely fantastic book to read through. Of course, you've got the Alpha Core logo there. That wasn't there in the original version. And it's just minor changes like that. Nothing too major, nothing that really changes this book. Some of the choices of coloring, I believe this, the color that was more like red, like blood, but this changes it to blue, gives it, I guess, a little bit more of a comic book style where the Last one was definitely a bit more gritty, but you still got blood there. So it was some things are a bit, I'd say, maybe a bit more toned down, but this all looks absolutely fantastic. And what makes this really nice to read is the fact that this is a massive oversized format. So you get to really see the art pop out at you. But this is, of course, something that you can only see if you get the book yourself. And of course, it's probably some of the best art for Isom #1 is in this scene. And then, of course, this is where the ad was in the original version for, I forget exactly what that company is. I know it's Eric's wife's jewelry store. But if we can get to, I'm almost there. Yeah, of course. So yeah, Dream State Collective. That's the page, but you just have the cover of Isom 2 there. And then Alpha Core and Yaira are, of course, not remastered, but they still look absolutely fantastic, especially these 2-page spreads in Alpha Core. Because of this oversized format. But there isn't as many big, massive changes as there was for Isom #1, considering that was recolored by Sebastian Chang and it was touched up by Cliff Richards. And it looks absolutely fantastic. Of course, you had that lettering from Invisible Studios. But this is Alpha Core, so we're flipping through Alpha Core. And here you've got Yaira. And again, like I said, Alpha Core and Yaira don't feature remastered art. But they are bigger, of course, in this format, so it definitely is a really nice reading experience. Just even just flipping through this book, it just looks absolutely, it's a feast for the eyes. But I think really what is the most awesome thing for this is, showing it off a little bit, is of course after the end of every book you do get these big show-offs of the cover. So you got cover A, we got cover B. We got cover C, we got cover D for Yaira, and that's for at the end of every book. This is the back cover for Yaira #1. But here, at the end, after you finish reading Yaira #1, you've got concept art. And of course, if you've watched my video of the review of the concept art book that I did give away, but I did review it before giving it away, and I went through every one of the 16 pages, and this is the concept art that appears. Of course, it does not have that commentary from Eric July, but you see Altona, you see Darren Fontano, and this is all from the concept art book that released with Isom #1. You see Valadon and Takari, you see Sam for Willard, you see show of the Isom statue. This is the one by Iron Studios, not McFarlane Toys. Might have been a misprint there. But this is the Alpha Core, or this is Brian Solari's original concept art that does appear in the concept art book. You've got Ingrid Valdez, you've got Braxwell, you've got the Alpha Core logo there. This is Michael Copper, Lilian Renashi, all this appearing in the original concept art book. Yaira as well. This is, I believe, an Alpha Core poster. And then you've got concept art for Stefania. This does not appear in the concept art book, but it is really cool to see nonetheless. Of course, you've got Yanessa and Yantoni, who appear in Yaira #1. This concept art does not appear in the concept art book. And then you've got Magus Newmite there. So nice to see some concept art and some really nice pictures of statues. So this is the Yaira statue done by McFarlane Toys. The Young Isom statue was done by Iron Studios. Slight little error there, but you expect something like that when you've got over 300 pages in an omnibus. But this is a little letter to the Rippaverse readers. Definitely always appreciate that kindness to the fans that they show. And that is just a slight overview, or a very broad overview of the Rippaverse Trinity. Absolutely fantastic product. It's massive oversized, makes it a really good reading experience. It's going to be a bit awkward reading it in bed. People will make that commentary on basically any big omnibus like this, but this is a fantastic coffee table book. This is really nice to flip through, and again, it is very much, has a very high quality feel, but that is very consistent. Basically, any Rippaverse book that I've gotten so far, they all feel very high quality in terms of the paper quality, but of course you've always got some errors, so the copy editing can always be a little bit better. But now we are going on to the Dokumaan cards. So this is the box that came with the first set of Dokumaan cards. It is basically the exact same as the second set. Of course, the first one had that unique white cover to it, and it had a little bit more commentary. You see the Beholder Beware, but when you open it up, it doesn't really have any commentary like it did in the first one. So I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity to slightly modify Beholder Beware, saying like, you know, you've revealed the secrets that you shouldn't see or something like that. So I do think something like that would be nice. But really, the box isn't the most important thing of the Rippaverse. So the events to come, if you read Bloodroof, you get a little tease of what the events to come are. But we are going to go right into the next 10 Dokumaan cards, and we are going to be starting with Splatterpuss. So of course, Splatterpuss, and let's zoom in a little bit, just so you guys can see. So Splatterpuss is the main antagonist of Gooding the Polymath, and he has a really interesting character, and we're going to get right into it. So his real name is Ron Hodges, 6'1", 195 pounds, born in Forest Park, and of course his first appearance is in Gooding the Polymath, with its collection releasing in June, and that fulfillment began in August of 2024. The man who goes by Splatterpuss, Ron Hodges, has had violent and disruptive outbursts since he was a child. These roguish and violent tendencies led to problems when Ron was serving in the Texas Army, earning him a trip to military prison. He was awarded his freedom in exchange for mercenary work, to which the pairing of his flexible morality and military training was well suited. During his first mission, there was an experimental accident that resulted in Ron being infused with accept abilities. It would appear there are more of these man-made accepts than I had anticipated. Ron has earned the name Splatterpuss from his deadly hemorrhaging abilities. Despite a lifetime of rotten deeds, Ron does not see himself as a villain, making his ambition more dangerous than most. Power observations, the telltale sign of Ron Hodges activating his hemorrhaging accept abilities, are the characteristic markings that appear all over his body in specific patterns just before using his powers. With more skin-to-skin contact, he can manipulate a sentient being's heart rate, even causing death. This gruesome ability, combined with his flying suit, makes him a silent predator and the perfect assassin. So, very interesting. Gives you a little bit more insight on Splatterpuss. Of course, I'm sure as Gooding's story develops, my parents confirm there is more Gooding on the way. We'll find out more about Ron, but going to have to be happy with the Dokumaan card for now. Next, we are moving on to Horseman. Of course, Horseman being announced at MegaCon February 2024 with his book, Horseman Welcome to Forest Park, really wowing the fans back in November of last year, so much so that the collection made around $800,000 and has been confirmed for an ongoing series. So of course he has to have a Dokumaan card, and we are getting right into that. His real name is Hector Lee Caparello, height at 5'11", 200 pounds. Do not know where he was born, but we do know that his first appearance was in the Horseman Welcome to Forest Park, November of 2024, which is when readers got it. Of course, that collection launched mid-September, just before the end of summer. Hector Caballero is a man with many secrets, even from the ones he would profess to love. He appears to have a penchant for symbolism, particularly that of the night, which he employs with his horseman alter ego. What started as a squad name with his brothers in arms seems to have evolved into a cycle of violence. Could he stop after so long, even if he wanted to, or would he feel like he is letting his former team down? Hector has used his elite military training to pursue justice by delivering it upon the criminal underworld with brutal retribution. Though he is new to Forest Park, he is already leaving a long and winding trail of bodies in his path. What will the Texas city's body count rise to, with the Horseman taking up permanent residency within its walls. Power observation. Time spent serving overseas with his special horseman unit has honed this highly trained military man into a fearsome weapon of war, one which he has taken to Forest Park's streets. He does not seem to have any acceptabilities, which means one day he may pick a fight he won't walk away from. And we got a little hint of that towards the end of Horseman Welcome to Forest Park. You can check out my review. We want to see if that book is worth buying. Short story, or the short answer is I definitely think that it is. But moving right on to the next Dokumaan card, this is of course Saoirse. The lovely femme fatale Saoirse made her first appearance in Rippaverse number 2. Fans love that short story so much by Eric July and Kanan White that she has an ongoing series with the first issue coming out later this year, being 2025. But we're getting right into this card. So her real name is just Saoirse at 5'9", 138 pounds. Again, don't know where she's born, and that first appearance is in the Ripazine, or the second Ripazine, I should say. So Saoirse's reputation as a skilled and resourceful private investigator precedes her. This creature uses her stealth and guile to penetrate any environment to gain information and get to the truth. The shallow observer may think she would hide in the shadows given the nature of her occupation, but Saoirse appears to prefer to brazenly show off her figure, outwitting her opponents distracted by her beguiling physique. What fools. She sells her services to the highest bidder, though a lot of the simpler jobs have been taken by simple internet searches, leaving only the most difficult and execution-dependent jobs up for grabs. But is it money or something closer to the heart that drives this woman into the mortal danger night after night? So her power observations, Saoirse's acrobatic movements are extraordinary. It is the result of tireless, dedicated training, or is this the result of tireless, dedicated training, or some acceptability that remains yet hidden from my eyes? She is a jack of many trades, skills that help her do the job better than anyone else. I would say in this world, if beauty is a mark of danger, Saoirse is exceptionally deadly indeed. Definitely have to agree with Dokumaan. Again, I absolutely love the lenticular nature of all these cards. It's really hard to show off just how 3D these cards look on film, or I guess on video is the more apt term to use. But physically holding these cards, they feel very nice. Of course, they do bend a little bit too much, but which is why I think we need a nice Dokumaan card binder, especially for people like me who have all 3 decks and the 4th one on the way. So having a Dokumaan binder is definitely something they need to get done. But we are going to the next Dokumaan card. This is Edward Alexander Crowley, who appears at the end of Bloodroof number 1, or I'd say towards the end of Bloodroof number 1. He has a decent appearance, or a decent role established at the end of the first issue of Bloodroof. And of course, the second issue of Bloodroof is coming out sometime this year. Crowley, his real name is Edward Alexander Crowley, height at 5'11", weight 175 pounds. He was born in Royal Leamington Spa, England, and his first appearance is, of course, Bloodroof number 1. Be it by blessing or curse, the man known as Edward Alexander Crowley was born in the United Kingdom over a century ago with the ability to see spirits and commune with the other side. He saw overlapping beliefs in the organized religions around the world and wanted to connect them together. He called himself the Beast because he would be the end of faith as it is known. His vast knowledge of many arcane arts influenced practices and organizations around the world. There is hardly a magical practice Crowley didn't have at least an influence on if he hadn't directly molded it himself. Ostentatious in his presentation and charismatic in his dealings with others, he bears a reputation and infamy of trouble, perhaps due to his habit of summoning demons. Of course, that did get him into trouble that Bloodroof had to save him from. Power observations. The Master Furion is possessed of substantial magical ability. This Crowley is a creator of many dangerous spells and practices. If he desires something, it appears he has or can create the magic to obtain it. Crowley is a wild and uncontrollable genius of many dark arts. How could anyone hope to control the powers that he claims to wield? So, and that is Crowley's Dokumaan card. Next, we are going on to Larry Shungite. Now, Larry Shungite has a very brief appearance in the middle of Isom #2. Definitely do not know a lot about him. Of course, if we find out more about him, you're also going to find out more about the SSWL. And we've got, let's get right into his Dokumaan card. So his real name, of course, is Larry Shungite. His height is 6'3", 260 pounds, real big bruiser of a guy. Birthplace is Flores Park, and of course that first appearance is Isom #2 in June of 2023. Long have I observed warriors engaged in the art of battle, mercilessly fighting, only the strongest emerging as the victor. Larry Shungite of the SSWL is one such warrior. His Olympian frame seems as though it can barely be contained within the arena in which he combats his opponents. They fight for belt trinkets tied to titles like world champion. But is there a deeper story going on behind the scenes? These fighters can't have been brought together for no reason. Larry Shungite has been putting in overtime to raise the SSWL to its current glory days and feels great offense in his belt being taken away from him. In his eyes, he is the only true champion in the league. Speaking on the microphone to the audience, it's unlikely that he'll stay on script, which is what is this unpredictable loose cannon going to set his sights on next? Power observations. Is Larry Shungite an accept or simply a man who has dedicated his life to mastering the art of hand-to-hand combat? A masterful grappler who can submit even the toughest foe and a lightning-quick boxer. His wrestling finisher is a thing of legend, as appears to be with everything in the SSWL. It is mystifying to tell where fantasy stops and reality begins. Truly an excellent cover for anybody. So, could Larry secretly be an accept, doing accept things using his persona as the SSWL as a cover? Only time will tell. So next, this is Gina. So this is Gina Gooding. Of course, she is the wife of Kato Gooding, and her story is told along with Kato. So we figure out, or we find out how she knew Gooding and how she plays into his story. So her real name is Gina Gooding, height 5'8", weighed 135 pounds, born in Flores Park, and of course her first appearance is in Gooding the Polymath. Though without acceptabilities, this human female is nevertheless an exceptional specimen. Gina is the life partner and wife of one Kato Gooding, the perfect mate for her, as he too is exceptional in his field of work, while also not an accept. Working together at Gooding Services, Gina Gooding supports her husband with his technological advancements in cutting-edge gadgetry and machinery. She is well studied in medicinal and scientific fields, with an advanced understanding of invention and innovation herself. Though demure in appearance, this Gina is not without fight, and I have observed her standing boldly by her mate in the face of frightening foes. I would be quite interested to see the caliber of offspring they would produce. Power observation. Extremely clever and adaptable for a human, Gina Gooding also maintains her body at a high level of physical fitness. She is a fierce competitor in something called tennis, which she performs with her partner Kato. Gina is skilled in medical and scientific studies. That's rephrasing what was already said in the main body, but that is okay. Next, we are heading on to Sturm. Of course, Sturm and his partner Blitz appear in Horseman Welcome to Flores Park, and they've got that little ending closeout scene in the Horseman trailer, which was really fantastic to see. But we're moving on to his Dokumaan card. Real name, we don't know, just goes by Sturm. Height is 6'5", weight 425 pounds. Don't know where he was born. And of course, his first appearance is in the Horseman Welcome to Flores Park. This reprehensible earth creature is called Sturm. It seems to me that death and destruction are the sole driving force and purpose of his existence. Though he does seem to have some form of affection for his female companion and partner in crime, Blitz. Wherever he leads, she appears to follow. It is unclear where he descended from, but he possesses strong beliefs about the purity of certain races and the elimination of of others. Sturm bears an impressive physique, but his strengths are limited to his body's physicality alone. But his strengths are not limited to his body's physicality alone. This man is an accept with the peculiar ability to manipulate metals around him, though this appears to be rather limited. Perhaps with the proper training or motivation, Sturm would one day have the ability to stop armies dead in their tracks, or maybe die gloriously trying. I do wonder. His power observation, Sturm is a low-level metallokinetic, though I see the potential for him to greatly evolve these gifts. I myself have observed him stopping bullets in midair and redirecting them at his foes with the deadliest of precision. So, very interesting character. It does seem like Sturm and Blitz are going to have a bit of an arc, so we'll see how that turns out. Of course, we're heading right into Blitz's Dokumaan card. Of course, she is the partner of Sturm. Absolutely love the character design here. Will Conrad's art is absolutely fantastic for all the Dokumaan cards. And again, really have to emphasize that you really need to get these cards in person if you want the full lenticular effect, which is definitely a big part of the appeal of having these as collectibles alongside with the information on the back, which of course, as a Rippaverse nerd, is what intrigues me the most. But we are going on to this card. So her real name is not known. We just know her as Blitz. Height is 6 foot. Even, weight 180 pounds, and of course the first appearances in Horseman Welcome to Florist Park. Though I highly doubt Blitz is her birth name, this is what this accept is known as. She is a distasteful woman with a flair for violence and a lack of the usual feminine qualities of empathy, or the usually feminine quality of empathy. She seems to derive much pleasure from snuffing the light of life out from the eyes of her victims and delights in toying with her prey before their demise in order to extract useful information. I cannot deny that I am enthralled and inspired by her methods. Blitz possesses incredible strength within her, but appears to willingly follow her partner Sturm into whatever trouble he has chosen to lead them into. Often with the most violent and deadly of results, Blitz can deliver a devastating punch, but is not used to taking them. She would rather pick on someone of markedly lower stature than herself. Power observation is that Blitz has an awesome super strength within her, but little in the way of fighting prowess. Though she excels at delivering severe damage, Blitz is not accustomed to receiving it. Though she is more than capable of standing on her own, I have observed that she allows Sturm to throw the first punch while she delivers the knockout blow. So she definitely is more of a follower rather than a leader. So we'll see how that evolves over time. So we've got 2 more cards left. Of course, we've got the legendary Magus Newmite. He really made a big splash in Yaira #1, along with Yanessa and Yantoni, who do not have Dokumaan cards yet. Yanessa and Yantoni, I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity for this deck. While I do like Gina and Larry's cards, I think Yanessa and Yantoni would have been more interesting for me personally. But of course, with how Yaira #1 ended up, that might not have been the best choice to do. But we'll see about Magus Newmite. Of course, it's very heavily implied that he survives the events of Yaira #1. But we're going to get right into his Dokumaan card. So Magus Newmite is Magus Newmite. His height is 6'4". Weight unknown, birthplace unknown, and of course that first appearance is in Yaira #1. Magus Newmite is the champion of the Void Scarabs and known as the fearsome black sorcerer of the Forsaken Crystal Magi, an eclectic group of the most powerful magic users in the known universe. It is said these elusive space wizards derive their vast powers from the Forsaken Crystals, which they are somehow forged with. Before attaining these magnificent magics and joining this collective, Newmite had already proven himself to be one of his world's bravest warriors. Stories of his great conquests and beauty, one of the most attractive males of his species, traveled across the galaxy and led to his engagement with his princess bride. Newmite is a deadly foe to all who would dare to be his enemy. He will chase them through time and space itself. Power observation, the extent of his black magics remains a mystery, even to me. I have seen him fragment himself into a swarm of Neptune beetle spawn and transform the very earth to ensnare his prey. A terrifying adversary indeed. Yes, so Magus Newmite definitely has a very storied lore about him. Hopefully we find out more about him. Maybe he'll make an appearance in Zelen, or better yet, we'll get an appearance of the Void Scarabs in Zaylin, and we'll get a little bit more of characterization of Magus Numite through the Void Scarabs. But only time will tell on that one. Of course, there's just so much going on with the Rippaverse outside of Flores Park, especially the cosmic level, that a book like Zaylin is going to give us a lot of interesting information. So, of course, this is the last Dokumaan card. This is one of the salvage. Find this one to be really interesting. This one emphasizes his hearing powers. Will Conrad did a fantastic job drawing this card, and I think this is, probably one of the best cards in terms of the lenticular effect, which again, I really cannot show off that well on camera. So we've got the Salvage. His real name is John Salvage, height at 6'2", weight 210 pounds, born in Flores Park, Texas, first appearing in his short story, The Salvage, which is in Rippaverse #1. And of course, he will have, I believe, a limited, I'm not sure if it's a limited series, I believe it's just a regular graphic novel, one shot. That's The Salvage Lethal Force, written by Eric July. Artist is going to be Bart Sears, who was the artist for the short story in the Rippaverse, which was just as engaging to fans as Saoirse's story. So, of course, he had to get his own full-blown story, which hopefully takes what was established in his short story and really brings it to a nice, meaty, and satisfying conclusion. But we're getting right into his Dokumaan card, choosing the moniker of the Salvage. This is an accept with his ear to the streets of Flores Park. He is a skilled detective and excels in investigative matters relating to theft, leveraging his acceptability of heightened hearing to solve crimes with which other professionals would struggle. He also possesses a keen mind for navigating the city streets, making him an excellent asset to his clients. Though his work often takes him into the shadows, the Salvage appears to stand firmly on the side of the angels. He adorns himself in a three-piece suit, attire which holds its own secrets. His hat possesses a bladed rim, making it a formidable weapon to surprise opponents with during battle. Salvage is swift on his feet and not afraid to chase down a target, even if they happen to be escaping in a moving vehicle. But what drives this man? Why does returning what has been taken to its rightful owner hold such a meaning to him? His power observation. As a skilled detective and investigator, the Salvage possesses a keen mind. He has the uncanny ability to hear far beyond the capacity of any normal human. This accept is a tremendous fighter with a style all his own. How fascinating. So that is the Salvage's card, and that is the last card. We are up to the 31st Dokumaan card between the three sets that we have so far. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully you can put up with my terrible reading. Of course, there's a lot to read, and I am not the best at oration. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Braxcast. That's all I have for you guys this week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and tune in next week. Joker is out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.